Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 110, I can't believe it, of the Custom Apparel Startups podcast. My name is Mark Stevenson from ColDesi.
And this is Mark Vila from various companies.
From ColDesi.
But ColDesi being the one I really want to focus on.
Yeah, and this is like, we should make a point of this for a while when we introduce the podcast, to explain to people that Coleman and Company used to be a separate corporation back in the day. It was always tied to ColDesi, but now it's not. It is the e-commerce arm, among other things, of the ColDesi company.
And it's been like that for a while. We just don't really talk about it.
We don't talk about it.
It's in the logos and something.
And you're gonna see that on the Coleman and Company site pretty soon. Is the kind of the blend, and you know, when you call Coleman and Company, they're gonna answer ColDesi. When you see an invoice now, you already see ColDesi.
Yeah, we'll see these things coming more and more emerging, and you'll run into this with your business too.
Yeah.
As you grow through different stages of your business. One of the things that might be happening in your business is you might merge with another company or something like that, and you're going to have to figure out, how do we not make it confusing?
Yeah.
So with all of that and kind of talking about that, we're going to talk about the 5 stages of small business growth.
Yeah, and we're also going to mention the fact that that is the best segue I have ever experienced in the podcast.
And I want to say something about the title here.
Yeah.
I added the word small business growth in there because it just seems like whenever we say the word small business, it feels more comfortable for our customers.
Right.
But this is really about you taking your small business and making it a big business too.
Yeah, and how to recognize where you are along the way.
Yeah, so why don't you give us a mini intro on what this means?
Well, I mean, first of all, I just want to point out that we got this idea from an article in Harvard Business Review. And if you've never read Harvard Business Review online, you might want to take a look. It can be really deep and really highbrow kind of stuff. There's a lot of data, but there are some stuff in there that they make very understandable, and we get a lot of inspiration for our business and for podcasts from there.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that, I find that a lot of the articles they're hard to relate if it's not like a corporate business world type of stuff, which is typically what you listening are not. You're a small business.
It's very Harvard-ish.
Yeah.
When you read it,
but when you read this stuff, it kind of ties into our previous episode about thinking like a big business.
Yeah.
Is that you and us and so many other people can learn from what these big businesses do, because they have to perfect every stage across the way.
Yeah.
Every stage, every step, they have to perfect it. Otherwise, they'll crash.
Yeah.
So it's like Titanic. That ship is so huge, and the reason why you don't hear about any huge giant ships crashing now is because there's so many things they put into place to make them safe,
right,
and make them good. And where you will hear about somebody's little tiny sailboat going under the water.
Yeah. That's a good analogy.
So we're going to help you go navigate through these stages, what they are, and then you determine which stage is where you are now and where you want to be next.
Yeah, and if you want the highbrow version of this, we're going to link to the Harvard Business Review article, so you can look at the charts that I could not understand.
Yeah, I didn't understand the charts either, but we've put together the stages here in a way that we really know. I was going to say feel and think, but we know this is how it relates to our customers, people like you. Small apparel businesses and businesses that go from startup to maybe a reasonable size where they've got 20 or 40 or 100 employees.
Yeah,
this fits from all the stages. So
it's true. So stage 1 is existence, and this is the existential question. Yeah. Are you really in business, and can you be?
Yes, and what this means is really from like the highbrow kind of viewpoint on this is, can you get customers? Can you deliver that product to those customers? Right. So if you wanted to be in business of, I'm going to design apps for phones, right? I don't know how to program.
Right.
I don't know. I don't do that. So if I say I'm going to start a business by myself, or I'm going to make apps, I'm not even in stage 1. Because I can't even make it.
Right, you're not in existence yet.
So stage 1 is about possibly what equipment you're going to work with.
Yeah.
How are you going to make the deliver? What kind of niche
Yep.
are you going to sell to?
And can you do those things? So are you able to, if you're in the wedding marketplace, or that's where you want to be, can you access those potential customers, and can you actually make or resell a product that they would enjoy?
Yeah. Do you have the financial ability to get started?
That's a big. I'm just going to say this a little bit more clearly.
Sure.
Do you have enough cash?
Yeah.
To invest in yourself and your business up front?
Or can you borrow enough cash to do it as well?
Do you have the credit cards?
Do you have the credit cards, or do you have somebody who's willing to back you? Or can you get approved for a small business loan or for a lease?
Yeah.
These are all things that you could do. Can you do all these things?
Yeah, and so it's really interesting. Our customers come to us to these questions kind of at different places.
Yeah.
First someone will approach us about a direct-to-garment printer and embroidery machine to find out how much it costs, to determine whether or not they have the money to get started financially, right? Sometimes they'll have the money and just be trying to select the right product and identify a market. So they're trying to figure out, okay, I know I can do embroidery, I know I can do digital heat FX t-shirts, can I get customers? How do I do that? And can I deliver a product to them?
Yeah, and then part of this, I love that you added an additional note here. Do I have the money to sustain the business before I can get to that break-even point? So what else are you going to have to spend money on, right? You're going to eat maybe gas just to drive around and sell.
Yes.
Or business cards, or you're going to, you need a website for your business model.
Yep.
You're going to need to buy some supplies. You're going to need to buy shirts to make samples.
That's a big deal. And you have to think of all these things while you're in this existence stage.
Yeah.
Because what you don't want is you don't want to get equipment, identify a market, work on all your creatives and get ready to make t-shirts, and then not be able to afford to do the business.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you've got to be ready to do things like, you've got to have cash to pay your mortgage while you start up.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a side hustle, it's a slightly different story, but it still has to be worth it. I've started businesses before, and it's only because I could go for 6 months without making any money.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to be okay.
And that's if it's not going to be a side hustle type of a thing.
Right.
You need
You're
to
all
be
in.
prepared for that. And then part of this stage, I think, also is up to the point where maybe you make some decisions like, okay, I've got this money here I can use for marketing. I've got this money here put aside. Whether it's a side hustle or full-time, however it is, you guys are smart enough to understand what that money needs to look like.
Yeah.
But it's also about then you choose your equipment and your niche. You've got all that done. Okay, well, I've got the customer I'm going to sell to, the method I'm going to deliver it to. Now I actually have to be able to deliver it. So that means training.
Yeah.
You have to. So part of this stage is actually going through the training and learning how to use your equipment.
Yeah.
Which means taking the time to have money put aside to get to make mistakes, and taking time to have money for whatever. If you're going to need to hire people to do things for you, like maybe do artwork for you or help with production or whatever it is, you're going to have to make a lot of these decisions because you're still in the existence stage until you can completely get a customer, produce the
whole
product,
transaction,
deliver the product.
Because what you don't want is, like many of you have done in the past, is you order a piece of equipment because you have a huge order.
Yeah.
It's like your first order. So you've demonstrated that you can get customers, but you've committed before you've demonstrated that you can deliver a product.
Yeah, and if you can't deliver the product, you're still in that stage where you're trying to exist.
You're not a real business yet.
Yeah, you're not a business yet because you can't deliver the product.
Yeah.
You've got the customer, you own the equipment, you can't produce anything yet. So you've got to work through all of this where you can go completely from getting a customer to delivering it. And this doesn't mean yet that you've made money.
Yeah.
Yeah, this doesn't mean you've made money yet, or you're breaking even, or you're profitable. This just means you're actually able to do the task.
You're in business. You've got everything set up and you're ready to go and you know that you can do it.
So now that you know your business can actually exist, right, and repeat it, that means you're able to get a customer, or your customer even exists, right? We joked about making noodling shirts.
Oh yeah.
Like I mean, I guess that customer kind of exists.
I know it does. I watch the videos. I still wake up at night sometimes.
But how many is there a market for that? So you
Right.
identify that customers exist. You identify you have the ability to produce the product that they want,
Yep.
Or the service, or both.
Yeah.
And then in the end, you have the ability to actually deliver that product. Once you completed those three things, now you exist as a business. This has nothing to do with paperwork.
Right.
Right. It has nothing
Right.
to do with
You should
getting-
do the paperwork
Yeah.
though.
The paperwork but functionally, it's not the paperwork. Functionally, is to be able to do all the tasks.
Agreed.
So now that you can officially know that you can exist, now we move to the next stage.
Right, which is survival. And I think it's really good. Like existence is a word. I wasn't, survival
Harvard
is.
said it was the right word.
They did, and they should
Yeah.
know. Survival is a great term for it because it's the idea of, do you have an ongoing concern? So just because you can do business, you can make shirts and you can find customers, doesn't mean that that your business will survive. I mean, I guarantee you've been to a restaurant and you go in and you like it and they're employing 20 people and there's a chef and they do advertising and things like that, and 3 months later they're closed.
Yeah.
Right? Because they could get customers in the door, they could deliver the product, and they had a short period of time where they could handle it financially, but they couldn't sustain that.
Yeah, so that means they never moved out of stage one.
Right.
They only existed.
Right.
They had customers, they cooked them food, they put it in front of them. And that's all and the people liked it. Let's assume that the product is what they wanted, right?
Yeah.
That's all they could do though. So the main point of survival is money.
Yeah, and it's
financial.
it's that break even point.
Yeah.
And if you're not familiar with break even, that is when it doesn't cost you money to be in business.
Yeah.
That's really the way to think about it. All of your bills are paid. You're basically at zero. And for some businesses, they don't get there for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know if it applies to this conversation, but Amazon was not profitable for a long time. They existed. They could turn out a product and they could deliver it, but they weren't making any money.
Yeah, and this existence to survival stage, it's not unhealthy necessarily for it to be a long time when
Right.
it makes sense. So let's just say an example would be that you've maybe been saving money your life and you've got money aside and you say, okay, this for a year, this is going to
Yes.
last me a year. Or maybe you've got a rich uncle that's going to finance you.
Okay.
In the big corporate world, it would be like a venture capital.
Yeah.
Or investors. Where you have big investors saying, "No, we're going to give you $300,000 to make this business." This existence stage can last as long as it helpfully needs to last for.
Yeah.
But you have to have a plan of when am I going to be able to get to that survival stage, meaning that every month. Right? I mean, you spend a certain amount of money to get customers and produce the product.
Yep.
In the end, you've made enough to make that zero.
Right.
Which kind of means, also, by the way, in this stage, you might be paying yourself
Yes.
a salary. That's
I
actually
would think
part
so.
of that.
That's part of survival.
So-
It's your survival
Yeah,
too.
so at this point in time, you're paying yourself a salary. Then you're truly this business is truly in survival
Yeah,
mode.
it's going.
Because you're an employee.
Yep.
That you've got to pay your personal bills, which is different than the business.
Yes.
So the business can now survive at this stage, and you can actually survive.
You can
for
stay
a
here.
Really long time.
You could stay here.
Yeah.
I mean, this is also a place where maybe this is all you want. Mm-hmm. Not everybody wants to go through the rest of the stages and be a big business, nor do they care about being particularly profitable.
Yeah.
What they really want to do is they want to work for themselves, maybe from home, and they just want to break even.
Yeah, and which is fine, but we put a good note, on the bottom here, is that it's vulnerable.
Yeah, so let's just make sure. So you're generating enough cash flow to break even, and that includes repair and maintenance and replacement of your equipment.
Okay,
Because one of the first dangers is to a long time in survival mode is that you buy a piece of equipment, and that could be a graphics computer, it could be a heat press, it could be a screen printing press, could be one of the ColDesi pieces of equipment. Eventually, those things run out. Those things die out. They need regular maintenance. They may need parts. You may need to replace them.
Yeah.
So if you're in survival mode and you're at break even, and let's say it's time for you to get a new embroidery machine, well, where is that $12,000 going to come from?
Yeah.
You know, that's the danger of staying in that survival mode. Is you're very vulnerable to equipment failure. You're vulnerable to more vulnerable to competition.
Or losing a big customer.
Market conditions. You know, that it's a very precarious kind of position.
You could just get sick for a period of time. You could break your hand, and now you can't operate properly for 6 weeks, and you could easily drop out of this survival stage, and now you're back
in the existence. So the important thing here to remember is, because a lot of you are here, and even if you're happy here in the existence mode, or in the first level of the survival mode, even if you're happy here, you do just be aware of this overall risk that you're taking.
Yeah.
Like, you may be doing what you love every day, but really you've kind of got like a job with another employer. You can get fired at any time. Right? There's no inherent security here. There's a lot of risk. So while you may be happy, you may not be safe.
Yeah, and this is a stage where you may be hiring employees at this stage. Like, these are all things you could do in this stage. You could be hiring people. You could be bringing on new vendors. You could be still investing in new equipment.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you could be doing in this stage where you're surviving, and every month you're paying yourself, you're paying your employees, but the business really doesn't have a big profit that it's creating. And
right.
We talked about that in podcasts.
Yeah, but like you said, it's okay to stay in survival mode on purpose. So like Amazon did, they did not care about going to the next step until they were ready. Mm-hmm. So they planned this out, and then they went boom. Yeah. So if that's what you're doing, if you're purposely taking every cent and putting it into growth, and you're okay with the break even, you want to stay in that survival mode specifically because you have somewhere bigger to go, then okay, you're doing that on purpose.
Yeah, but the goal really should always be to move to stage 3. Stage
3 is so I qualified this because the folks at Harvard just termed this as success. Mm-hmm. And I added traditional success, because, like I said before, a lot of you you don't want to go here. Okay. It's not necessarily your goal. So for those people that it is, which I think should be everyone. Yeah. It should be everyone, because now once you're successful, you are significantly more secure as well.
Yeah, you're economically healthy is kind of how they described it. Meaning that the business is able to churn a regular profit, at least kind of what would be considered like an average for a small business type of a profit, and the business has its own wealth that it's growing.
Yeah, and for we'll talk about profit, but you should definitely listen to our podcast called Profit First. Mm-hmm. We did an interview with an author of this book, and he had a great take on what profit is. But you should know that profit is money left over in the bank after you're paid, and all of it's leftover money.
Yeah, it's left over after everything is covered.
So if you are just covering your own salary, you are not profitable. If you're able to pay your bills, cover your own salary, and pay some of your expenses, you're not profitable. When you do everything that you need to do in the business with the money that comes in, and there's still money left over in the bank after the end of the month, that's profitable.
And that's when you've made it to stage 3, which is the successful stage of your business. So you're putting money in the bank, and this is the stage that you can truly stay in indefinitely.
Yes.
Because when you're profitable, then your business continues to grow kind of its wealth, and whenever there are pitfalls, which will happen in your business, like we mentioned just a few earlier, then the business has room to breathe within that financially. So you have the ability to not earn some money,
Right.
because the business has profits to survive off of.
Yeah, I actually love the stage because it is also where you can start, you can start handing off some of the things. Because in the first couple of stages, it's usually just you and maybe one or two other people. If you're in this small custom apparel business that most of you are.
Yeah, it's typical that it's going to be one person or a partnership or a couple or something like that.
Yeah, this is the point where you start once you're profitable, you can start looking at, oh, look, I can bring on a bookkeeper.
Yeah.
Or I can hire a salesperson. Or, I can, maybe I can expand the office a little bit or add some more equipment.
This is what makes it sustainable.
Yeah.
Is because now you can hire somebody to be, and this is where, actually, I think I wrote it somewhere in here, but this is like the dream stage.
Yeah.
This is
it is for me.
This is the dream stage, because what's your dream in this business? You want it to be financially independent, maybe. That might be it. You're achieving that. Maybe you love the art. We talked about in the art podcast, the graphic. Maybe you just love doing the art and you wanted to be able to do it for a living freely and make apparel with the art on it. Or you could do that.
Or you could love the marketing.
Yeah, you could love the marketing. You could love just the production of it. You could love whatever it is that you love. You can actually do this now because the business, it's profitable. You can afford to figure out ways to hire people to do the things you don't like to do, whether it's outsource or full time.
The most fun for this kind of a stage for me is that you get to start thinking about what you want to do. Mm-hmm. Not what you have to do.
Yeah.
Once you're profitable, you're in that zone where you can go, oh, I really want to add bling to the business. I really want to start going to events. Not because I have to make the business grow, because I want to make the business grow.
So that's actually where this part breaks down into two different stages where it goes. There's the disengagement stage.
Yeah.
This is your opportunity to say, I only want to do the dream. I only want to do the marketing. I only want to do the sales. I only want to run the embroidery machine. Everything else, I'm paying somebody to do. And you can completely disengage from all the things you don't like.
Yep.
Or maybe your dream was just to own it.
Yeah, you don't do anything.
You don't want to do anything. And that's plenty of people's dreams, is that you want to own the business. You just want to look at the paperwork, be a part of it, be a part of the dream of it and the vision of it.
Have somebody send a check.
But you're the person that you show up every day, you look around, you make sure things are going good, and you're free to do what you want. Maybe start another business or do another adventure.
That sounds very familiar to ColDesi.
Yeah. So the disengagement stage. The second thing you could do is you could choose the growth stage.
Yeah.
Right. That's where you say, I want to be bigger now, and you have money to leverage.
Man, this is really right out of the last podcast episode where you think like a big business.
Yeah.
If when you're in the existence phase, you've got that vision of what you want your company to be, then this is where you get to actually implement all of that.
Yeah.
You see, do you want to be bigger? Do you want to have multiple locations? Do you want to be in retail? Do you want to have a bigger online presence? What's your goal? That's if you decide it's growth, then this is where that happens. I like that.
And this is where you either have the money to do this yourself.
Yeah.
Because typically doing this is going to require more money, right? You're going to invest in more equipment, buy a new location, whatever it might be. So you have two things. You either have the money because you've been profitable and the
saving
money's been coming in, or you've got the leverage to be able to get more money now. So you can go to a bank or an investment firm.
I've been in business for 5 years or 7 years or whatever it is. Look at my track record. Here's my profits.
Profit and loss statement.
Yeah.
Here's business bank statements. I'm able to prove now that for the past 5 years, we've profited every year.
Yep.
We've profited, we've paid our employees, we've paid our taxes, we've grown. We're showing that we are a successful business. And if you're going to a bank to get a loan, or you're going to an investment firm, or you've got a rich uncle that you can talk to, whatever it might be, or a rich aunt, or maybe a rich grandma that just wants to see you succeed. I don't know what it might be. But you've got the ability to show on paper and leverage the power that you have of a successful business, which goes way, way more than just being a brand new business. If you're a brand new business, maybe you got approved for $50,000 to purchase some equipment.
Yeah, or a $10,000 lease.
if you're a profitable business that's been in business for 5 years and you could show profits,
That
you
bank,
can get a
yeah,
half a
the
million
bank, the
dollar
bank wants
loan.
to do business
Yeah,
with you.
You can get massive loans on this.
Yeah.
There are plenty of companies out there that have been able to finance growth out of being this little startup, and they got to that profit stage, and then boom, they're able to blow
Yeah.
up.
So it sounds like I'm the doomsdayer in this episode. Because we talked about the vulnerability if you're just in the existence stage, how that goes away a bit if you're in the survival stage. If you're in the success stage, what you have to be careful of, or what you have to look at, is you've got to be ready to respond to competition. So that's one of the things that is inherently attractive about growth, is if you are in a market and you're selling a specific product or you're in a specific geographic area, if you are not improving and growing, and the market is, then you're going to get squeezed out by your competition.
Yeah, there's definitely a potential for that to eventually to happen. And we see that with businesses all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it happens to ColDesi. We'll bring in a product and we will popularize it, make a lot of people successful, and then a competitor will come in because they see what's happening. And if we weren't always growing and improving, like a lot of people in our business, we'd be out of business.
Yeah, so you've got to figure out where, and this stage I think this is a tricky one. It's not easy. It's great, and it should be celebrated to be here. And if you want to stay in this stage, you just got to balance that, the disengagement and the growth, and make it comfortable. And this is really where you're consistently strategically planning what's happening next with your business, because you want to stay here or go out a number higher. You never want to regress.
I'll use our example of the owner of ColDesi, Scott Coleman. Now, Scott is a terrific manager, but he's not in the building managing people every day. He's not like doing functions within the business. He's not picking and packing stuff. He's not creating artwork or working on websites. What he does in this stage is he will go out and find things that inspire our growth. So if we have a new product coming out, it's because Scott went out and found it or made the arrangement. So we're in that success stage, and he's making sure that we're growing and moving forward, beating the competition at every turn.
Yeah, exactly. And he has the balance that he wants for his dream as the owner of this company, between the disengagement and the growth.
Yeah.
Right? His dream was not to be preparing embroidery machines and building them by hand.
Right.
That's somebody else's dream.
Yeah.
Right? But his dream also is to make sure that the business continues to grow and maintain and
to be in the business,
be in the business, so that you find that balance. You find the balance in your business, but I think that until you get here, you should always be strategically planning, how am I going to get myself to the success stage, which means you're consistently profitable and you're able to reach the dream. Which, like we said, is maybe your dream is to just do the art or just do the marketing, or to continue to grow and have 100 employees. If you want to get there, you've got to get to this stage.
My favorite stage. So talk to us a little bit about stage 4, which I think is the last one that we're really going to get into, and that is the takeoff stage.
Yeah, so if you've really focused on the growth stage, once you've gotten to success and you've focused on growth, then you're waiting to get to the takeoff stage.
Right. So again, the option here is you've got a profitable running business. Do you want to handle phone calls from the beach until that business runs out? Or do you want to kick it into high gear and grow? If that's the case, then you're shooting for the takeoff stage.
The takeoff stage is when you've got and this could also be compared to our business now too. That the business runs in and of itself. It's profitable without you having to churn all the cranks and
absolutely.
The business is profitable. It has very built-in core things that are working out great for you. You have the going from customer to delivery. You've got a whole system for that. You have a system for paying the bills. You've got a way for tracking everything. Everything is going on its own, and your primary focus is taking this business completely to a new level.
Yes.
So you are no longer thinking about, how do I make shirts? Should I do production here? How do we do the art?
And you're not making sure that everyone inside the business is doing their job either. You're not managing. You're really at this time where you're the growth manager.
Yeah,
right? That's what you're spending your time doing, is trying to figure out the best and most profitable way to grow the business.
So your job strictly is driving, the rocket ship up into space. You're taking off, and that's all you're focused on. In order to get to this stage, you cannot get to this stage unless you are a master of delegation, master of managing people and having the right people below managing further below.
So back in the existence stage, as you're thinking about what you want your business to be like, and where you're going, and like we referenced again in the Thinking Like a Big Business podcast, what you're looking is for that super long-term view. Like, what do I have to do to get to $1 million? What do I have to do to get to $3 million or $10 million, or just get into this perpetual growth mindset? Like, what needs to happen? And it can't be, I need to try to figure out how to do my financials. It can't be, well, first I've got to make sure that my shipping guy knows what he's doing. It's got to be at this stage that you are ready to let go of all the nuts and bolts unless something catches fire.
Yeah.
And then you're ready to take the next step.
Yeah, and that's what you'll find, when you see particularly fast and growing big businesses, is that the owner of the business is not typically, like I said, just actually moving the parts around, or not micromanaging their staff. So in order to be in this stage, you have to have, whether it's multiple levels of management or a series of directors, or however your business is going to run, but you have to have, somebody who's in charge of production, and somebody who's in charge of sales. Somebody who's in charge of maybe customer, satisfaction. Maybe some of these people wear multiple hats depending on what it is, but you have to have people who are in charge of all these things. You also have to have a very well experienced staff that knows what they're doing. Because when fires happen, they are fighting all the fires. Really, that's
true.
Where you want to be.
That's true.
Is that you're not fighting any fires unless it is, 5 alarm.
Right.
You're not getting involved unless it's 5 alarm. And that's what you'll see with like a really big company. The CEO of the company is not dealing with, the CEO of AT&T, for example, wireless, is not dealing with, a customer whose phone isn't working.
Jeff Bezos from Amazon isn't like helping you track your package.
Or figuring out why the delivery system is broken. There are 9 people below him on levels of management that are figuring all that out, that unless seriously their entire system is broken down, Bezos is not involved. And that's where you're going to be if you want to be in this takeoff stage, is that the business runs on its own and you are just 100% focused on getting more business, making more money, innovating, finding something new to do, and continuing on with that.
Now, it's a good point that you make here. This is a place where you can grow huge or you can fail miserably. So one of the positions I held in the past was I worked for Audiovisual Innovations. They're an AV company that is now, they've merged and they're worth basically $1 bajillion. But early on in his career, the owner, Marty, he had gotten to this takeoff stage, and he had tried to open up more than one location. And this was before he really hit it big. He tried to open up more than one location, and that failed miserably. So it closed very quickly. That was a potential, like, if he didn't have the financial wherewithal and the business skills right there, the company could have folded, because he invested so much in that expansion. And then and then it didn't work out, he was still okay.
This is like a risk at all stage. It can be a risk at all stage.
Can be.
Too. So you determine, what the level of risk you're taking is. But anytime if you're trying to go into takeoff, meaning, listen, we sell, 10,000 shirts every single month. We've got this whole production thing. I want to get to 100,000 a month. What do I got to do? We're a new facility, new equipment, more management, a loan to get this done. Taking the profits from the company and investing into new things, just banging all this stuff out. And if you're doing well on this stage, that's when you go from making, $1 million a year or 10 million a year.
Yeah.
That's when you achieve that growth, is during this takeoff stage. But there's risk involved in that, because all of these things that you're doing are potentially are eating away at that success stage if they don't succeed.
Yeah.
And that's when you'll see a big business make some really big investments, make some really big moves, and next thing you know, they're out of money, it didn't work, and they can no longer do stage one exist.
Yeah.
They can't even produce the product for the customer anymore.
And you could go through a list of big names that have done that, like Kodak.
Yeah.
Polaroid. A lot of tech companies especially have swung for the fences in this stage and not paid attention to their survival part and not made it.
And then Kodak is actually an example, because they're still a real big company. They don't make the cameras anymore.
They're a big company.
Yeah.
But they're not Kodak with it, not anymore.
So they fell back stages probably, and came back up through stages.
Yeah,
and
IBM did it, Apple
did it, Apple did it. There's plenty of these companies that have gone through the stages. Apple's a great example. If you've seen did you see the movie Jobs?
No.
It's cool, because you see that story happening.
Okay.
Where they go from, can we even make this computer?
I did see Pirates of Silicon Valley, though.
Okay,
that was great.
It's a similar story. So the stories are, can we make it? Now we can make it. Now we're profitable. Now let's shoot for a takeoff.
Whoops.
Fail. Whoops.
Right.
Back to, can we even survive now?
Yeah.
And going through that, and then the smart business owner figures out a way to survive again, then figures out a way to be successful again and take off again.
So all of this is really interesting, because what we're asking you guys to do is think about your business as a whole and as an ongoing concern, instead of just your business and your job and your income and what's happening next month. It really is that. You're not going to go into the takeoff stage unless you have a vision of growth. You have a vision of what you want things to be. If you don't have that vision and you just try to take off because you really like, Pirates of Silicon Valley, or then it's not going to work.
Yeah, and the thing is that these stages, you might have read a book or heard a story or seen a documentary where it seems like somebody skips all these stages, right?
Yeah.
But we've talked about this a lot in the podcast, or don't let the anomalous events define who you are. You could do that, and the chances of failing are huge. Colonel Sanders, just in a no house, living out of his car, trying to sell his chicken recipe, and next thing you know, there's crappy chicken everywhere in the country. But it's I don't think that his dream was what KFC has become. I don't think that was his dream.
I don't know.
But he died, so his dream, changed.
Doesn't really matter.
But so with that, I want you to consider, in my opinion, the way I try to live is that, you live your life according to what the major rules are. And if you see the opportunity, to do something, you go for it, of course. But for the most part, you go through these stages, because the last stage you want to get to, which you can read really the intense Harvard terminology on this stuff if you want to. But they refer to it as resource maturity. And this is where, your business is really experienced. It operates it's a smooth running machine everywhere. It's already kind of reached past the takeoff stage. It's like AT&T or Verizon. Where are they going to take off to, from where they are?
Or even on a smaller scale, it's relative to where you are and where you want to be. So your version of being at resource maturity could be a $2 million business. It doesn't have to be a $200 million business, right?
Yeah. And it just means that, there's tons of strategic planning happening. You're constantly focused on efficiency.
Yes.
This is a time when you get here.
Yeah.
This is when you can go ahead and figure out how to save a nickel on a Kona thread.
Right.
That's when
Oh,
you
that's
can do
good.
this.
Yeah, because it's going to make a difference. You're big enough.
Yeah, you're big. You
You're
don't
big
have
enough.
any other real issues to worry about because it's like you've reached the potential of growth in your market that you feel might be the maximum you can get to or what you want to get to.
Yeah.
You've got efficiencies everywhere. You've got systems set up like crazy. And really all that's left at this point in stage is just making sure you continue to maintain your high level. If you're number one in your industry, and that was your goal was to be there, you just want to make sure you stay there.
Yeah, and
that's really what this stage
you
is
really
now.
do. Now you're focused on things like, am I using the best supplies possible? Am I getting the best rates on those things possible? Do I have the absolutely the best people doing the things that they should be doing at all times? This is where you have the chance to look at your staff, and why big businesses they even replace CEOs periodically. It's because they realize that this person isn't in the right chair. So this is the time where you really look back and go, supply chain, your finances, do you need to renegotiate things with your bank? Should you be investing in the real estate that you use, and what does that look like? Is there a better way you can work with a financial guy to leverage your investments to better fund the business?
Yeah, are all the millions in taxes you're paying?
Yeah, should you be doing that,
properly,
or should you be in the Bahamas?
Yeah. So, but you can read the article to really kind of dive into more of this stuff.
So do that. Even if you're like us and you really don't understand everything that's presented, I think. So being exposed to, I'm not going to say higher levels of thought, but more structured, more well thought out, educational things like this, it changes your perspectives a little bit. Like you learn a little bit more each time. Like I remember, these factors in the takeoff stage in this article that I read in Harvard Business Review. So when I read this article in the New York Times or the Washington Post, or on CNBC about this company that I love, I understand what they're trying to accomplish, and that's a great idea for my business too on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
That's really kind of why we do this stuff. Like we're constantly exposing ourselves to marketing and business ideas, that don't even apply to our business
necessarily.
Yeah.
Everything ties together.
Yeah.
And you listening to this podcast is one of the steps to knowing that. I listen to all types of podcasts, I read all books, and some of them have nothing to do with anything I
that's
do,
true.
But then all of a sudden you see how they tie together.
Right.
And then that's when you have these epiphany moments where you're like, wait a minute, I know what I can do for my business.
Yeah.
So we took a couple of little summary points here that are factors that can help you succeed or fail in moving through these stages.
Yep.
And besides anything and stages or any of this stuff, these are all just like simple rules.
Yeah,
right?
I think these are good to not take personally, because a lot of the things that we're going to talk about, they could be emotional hot buttons. A lot of people feel differently about their money.
Yeah.
They feel differently about the people around them. So these are objective things that you have to consider, and I like these business factors like financial resources.
Yes.
What's your cash and borrowing power?
Yeah, and then as your business is growing, your cash and borrowing factor will grow with it. That's just kind of, it's just a part of a part of how it works.
And be realistic. Don't take it personally. We get people that get turned down for leases that don't understand. You have terrible credit. Don't think that you do, or they're, plan for it. Realize that you have terrible credit.
I don't have
what else can you do?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of borrowing power. What do I have?
Yes.
Who do I have that I can work with?
Yeah.
That does have the cash or the borrowing power. The other business factors are personal resources.
Personnel resources.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
But that's, the people in the business.
Yeah.
The resources of the actual people. So the person that's running your embroidery equipment, that's running the t-shirt, your salespeople, these are your personnel. These are resources for the business that the business will use to move through the stages of growth.
And this is at every stage. I mean, we become really attached to all the people that work here at ColDesi. And, occasionally it doesn't work out. and that's a painful experience, but you can't ignore it, even if it's your cousin or your sister or your spouse, if the quality and the level of the person that is helping you grow your business or start your business isn't there.
Yeah.
You've got to make a change. It's just like if you don't have the money, you've got to find it. If you don't have the right people, you've got to change it or find them too.
Yeah, and if somebody is not particularly good at printing T-shirts at the speed that it needs to be done, then you've got to help them or get somebody else to do it to get to that, to be a resource for the business. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck. You'll be stuck as fast as they can produce garments, and maybe that's not enough to get to the success stage.
Agreed. And system resources are also a big deal. You've got to have the systems in place to make sure to fill an order, to keep customers happy.
Yeah.
And we've done tons of podcasts on
and
this.
Conceptual systems too. This is how we quote a customer. This is how we, the systems are really important.
We should get some of those for marketing.
Yeah. What's that?
Systems.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
we should.
I keep trying.
I'm going to circle that.
I keep trying.
Business resources. You talk about that.
Yeah, sure. So the business resources are it's the fundamental things that business is able to do, and it's almost because of the above three.
Yeah.
So being able to handle good relations with customers, being able to leveraging the market share that you have, working with the relationships you have with your suppliers, your distribution process. It's the all the resources the business has that you can use. So you can say, I've got a really good relationship with these customers. So how am I now? I'm trying to get to I'm trying to get to the next stage. What can I do?
Yeah.
I can go to these really good customers and try to get referral business from them. That's using a resource of the business. One of the resources are your good customers.
You've really got to be aware of that. That's a great point.
And maybe relationship with your supplier. So you are buying, it could be anything, I guess, with that. But as you're growing, with, say, Coleman and Company, and you're buying supplies from us, you're trying to figure out how to do something different or new. So what do? You call up the ColDesi support department. You leverage that relationship and say, hey, I have an idea. I want to print on this. I want to embroider on this. Not sure how to do it. You leverage that relationship you have with us so they can teach you how to do it or problem solve. Now you know how to do it, and maybe you're the first person in your area to actually produce this type of thing.
I like that a lot,
And then there's the factors for the owner. So this is you.
This is another time to be to try to be completely as objective as possible, right? Because you've got to take a look at yourself and make sure that you've got, first of all, that you've got some kind of a goal or dream in mind. This can't be the default, like I may as well make T-shirts because I know how. I think this really came home for me when we were looking for our marketing assistant. We've hired a great marketing assistant, Hannah. You'll meet her on some videos coming up. But as we're looking, I did a phone interview with this one guy who had a great resume. And as I'm talking to him, it was just clear that he would do it, but he really didn't want to. It's not what he wanted to do. He needed the money and he could do it. So that's why we're on the phone. But, it's not what he wanted to do. Don't start a business like that. You
got to have the goals and the dreams. It's like you are the
you gotta want
you're
it.
the fuel behind this whole thing. So the owner's ability to do the important jobs in running the business. So that means if you are the reason why, say, like Steve Jobs, using him from Apple, he had the ability to get somebody to push beyond what they thought they could do. Make the computer smaller. Make it smaller. We can't. Make it smaller. He had the ability to motivate people to do that. He had the ability to go out and sell and talk and convince people to invest or buy stuff from him. So your ability to do all of the things that involve all of these stages is important. And maybe the first stage is knowing how to print DTG shirts really well. Which means you've got to practice. And you got to do it. And you can't get frustrated. You've got to finish your training.
Please. Please.
If you guys saw the stats on how many of you actually finished your training.
I'm just going to say it. If you own ColDesi equipment, Do not get trained on YouTube.
Yeah,
That's not where it is.
That's not where we put it.
No, we don't put our training videos on YouTube. If you find something on how to do something on YouTube from ColDesi, that's great, but that's not a training resource.
Yeah, we have training,
Right?
with our equipment, but it's all about, you just understanding how to do all of this stuff, whether you're physically doing it or you understand the process of who is doing it, why they're doing it, who to hire, have the right people.
And that moves into your managerial ability.
Mm-hmm.
If you are not going to work by yourself, even if you have a partner and it's just two people, there's management involved.
Mm-hmm.
Like to do a podcast, Mark Vila manages the podcast. Right? He comes up with most of the topics, he does most of the notes, he makes sure that our contractors gets it published. Like that is a managerial thing that you do, and that's one of the things that makes this successful. So for you, it's if you're working with your spouse or your kids or your neighbor, whatever it is, you've got to study how to manage them so you'll get the most out of them.
And I would say and this is a really hard thing to see because everyone thinks that they're like a good manager.
Oh yeah, you're not.
Everyone thinks that they are. It's just something about it. Everyone thinks they're a good parent. You raise your kids the best.
Yes.
Right? I've never met one person who's like, man, I am just a junk parent.
No,
I don't even know how to
I've
raise
seen some
kids.
comedians say that.
Yeah. But no, for really people say, I know how to get my kids to eat food, or I know how to get my kids to go to bed on time.
Is that why everyone gives parenting advice?
Yes.
Yeah,
because they're the
definitely.
best at it.
No.
So chances are you are an average manager.
Yes.
And because that's probably the most
That's
likely
average.
place.
That's actually what average means.
Yeah, chances are that.
Yeah.
And that's fine, right? But what you can do if you want to go through these stages, pick up some books on
That's really good.
management, watch some videos, talk to other business owners, ask them. And I think some of the clues just to really see if you need this are, do your employees do what you say?
Yes.
I heard a manager from another business friend, blah, 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 talking about, I asked this person to do something, they don't do it. I asked this, I have all these people who are just deficient at their jobs.
Yeah.
And I keep telling this one person, he's so smart, I can't get him to do it. And I'm thinking to myself, you're a bad manager.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
What are the chances that you hired the smartest, crappiest people in the crew you could buy? Right? Probably not. Probably you need some help in getting them, motivating them, managing.
I will actually deliver a management tip.
Okay.
Okay, and that is very few people don't need to be told what to do. Mm-hmm. And almost no one that you need to tell what to do, can you only say that once. So if you train someone to answer the phone for you in a specific way that you like, and then 2 weeks later they're not doing that anymore, you have to tell them again, don't get frustrated. Mm-hmm. And if you just yell at them or if you ask them and they don't change, then you need to read one of the management books to help you get through that.
Yeah, and this is good. These are all skills you build over time. You're not going to be good at them. Some people are naturally good at one thing.
Yeah.
We have people that they buy a digital printer and then they create this artwork and they just nail it, and you're like,
we never hear from them again.
What experience do you have? None really.
None really.
Just kind of like play with it, but for some reason they can just nail it.
Yeah.
And however, they might be a really poor manager, or everyone's got their ups and downs. So, and the last one for owner factors are your strategic ability. That's your ability to strategize growth, strategize the operation of your business, look at the business from up above and figure out how things are going to work.
Looking beyond what's happening today.
Yeah, and there's business strategy books.
There is.
Videos and
tons.
And stuff like that. So if you feel that, and another thing that you could do is you might look at all these things and be like, I nail all these things.
Right.
What I would suggest is find a book or a movie or a documentary or anything like that on one or more of any of these topics we talked about, and listen to it, read it, watch it, And as soon as you do that, you're going to realize there's 8 things that you don't do right, or that you can do better.
Here would be my approach.
Sure.
If you feel like you do all 4 of these things perfectly, then you need to go make a friend who will tell you the truth.
Yeah.
That's really what you need to do.
Yeah.
And we do that here, actually. You know, like we'll talk to other business owners in different industries entirely, just to kind of check. You know, say, hey, this is what we do for marketing. What do you do? You know, would you take a look at these emails or this website and just let me know what you think, and I'll return the favor.
Yeah.
You know, it's really productive.
And it's good to have a big list of things that you write down that you're not very good at, or you wish you were better at. And it may take you years to check those things off that you finally get to where you are. But if you've got that strategic list of where you want to grow, what you want to improve in your business, and you could just say, oh, I want to have a piece of software that tracks orders from beginning to end every single time. But gosh, it's so expensive. I can't afford to buy, this $20,000 a year software.
Yeah.
You keep it on the list.
Yeah.
Because you know that if your goal is to get to $2 million,
you're going to need the productivity.
You're going to need that, and then one day you'll check that off. We've had plenty of things on our website and in our marketing that we've wanted to do forever, and then finally we do them.
Yeah.
We get to do it. So do that for yourself.
Yeah, cool.
So we can wrap this up, I think.
Yeah, I love this. This has been the 5 Stages of Small Business Growth, episode 110. I still can't believe that.
That's a good number.
And really, we used the Harvard Business Review to inspire this podcast, just so you would think we're smarter than we are.
I think I stumbled upon this article, and I thought it was interesting, and it was the inspiration. I said, if all of our customers and all the folks who are listening to this podcast who are starting small businesses kind of had an idea of what this was, then you can start to realize, as you're kind of moving through your business, what's happening, where am I going, where am I, and then you have like an achievable goal to get to. You have a stage to get to, okay, I'm just in existence. I want to get to survival. It's cool to have these little goals for your business. And then you celebrate yourself when you kind of officially say to yourself, I'm in a new stage now.
Yeah, that's
And it's not like a switch you turn on. You kind of roll over it. And
you wake up one day.
You realize you're there.
All right, guys, thanks for listening once again. This has been Mark Stevenson from ColDesi.
And Mark Vila from ColDesi.
You guys have a great business.